Did you know Thomas Edison had a secret tattoo? It was Morse code on his arm, a code that spelled loyalty. And get this, Nikola Tesla once told a newspaper he loved talking to pigeons like they were his best friends. Welcome to Learn English with Stories 365. Today, we're diving into an electrifying battle. And when I say electrifying, I mean full of crazy energy and drama. Between two geniuses, Edison, the Wizard of Menlo Park, and Tesla, the father of AC electricity. Edison famously said, "Genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration." Now, perspiration is a fancy word for hard work, like sweating over a big project. That's Edison for you, all about grinding it out. But Tesla, he declared, "The future is mine." Not ours, mine. Bold, right? One man chased fame and money. The other dreamed of lighting up the world for free. But here's the twist. Both of them shaped the way we live today. Let me hit you with this. Edison invented the light bulb, but Tesla's ideas are why your phone charges, your lights turn on, and even why this video reaches your screen. Crazy, huh? But here's the kicker. Edison defeated Tesla in their big battle called the War of Currents. How? Why did Tesla die alone and poor, while Edison became a superstar? By the end of this story, you'll learn English through their wild rivalry. And I'll let you decide, who's the real hero? Ready to travel back to the 1800s when sparks literally flew? Let's go. Part 1. The Highlight Reel. Let's kick things off with the biggest, wildest achievements of Edison and Tesla. The moments that made them legends. Imagine this. It's 1879. The world is dark after sunset. Then, click. Thomas Edison flips a switch, and a glass bulb glows bright. The first practical light bulb. Crowds go crazy. Newspapers call him the Wizard. But Edison wasn't just a one-hit wonder. Oh no, he held 1,093 patents. That's official papers saying, "I invented this," for things like the phonograph, the grandfather of Spotify, and even early movie cameras. His secret? Persistence. That's a fancy word for never giving up. He tested over 6,000 materials for the light bulb's filament. 6,000! He once said, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." But wait, Edison had a dark side, literally. Even though he invented electric light, he was terrified of the dark as a child. And get this, he loved taking naps inside his lab equipment cabinets. Weird, right? Still, his invention factory, a team of smart people working together, changed how we innovate. Lesson here: teamwork plus stubbornness. World-changing ideas. Now, let's jump to Nikola Tesla. If Edison was the wizard, Tesla was the mad scientist. Picture this: 1893, Chicago World's Fair. Tesla stands on a stage, holding two metal rods. Zap! Electricity shoots through his body, lighting a bulb in his hands. No wires. The crowd gasps. This was alternating current, or AC, the system that powers our homes today. Tesla's AC could send electricity hundreds of miles, unlike Edison's DC, which only worked short distances. But Tesla didn't stop there. He imagined wireless communication, sending messages through the air, back in the 1800s. That's like dreaming of Wi-Fi before cars existed. Here's the kicker. Tesla could visualize entire inventions in his mind, down to the tiniest screw. No sketches needed. He once built a working motor in his head, then built it perfectly in real life. His mind was a supercomputer. But Tesla had quirks. He hated round objects and jewelry. He counted his steps obsessively, and he claimed a pigeon once visited him daily. And he loved it like a person. Still, his visionary ideas way ahead of his time, gave us neon lights, remote controls, and even robotics. So, what's the big lesson from these two? Edison shows us the power of grinding, working hard, even when it's boring. Tesla teaches us to dream wildly, even if people laugh. But their rivalry? Oh, it got nasty. Edison didn't just compete with Tesla. He tried to destroy him. How? We'll get to that juicy drama later. Part 2. Edison's background. Let's rewind the clock to 1847, in a small Ohio town. A sickly boy named Thomas Alva Edison enters the world with a gigantic head. The doctor thought something was wrong with him. But little did anyone know, that big head held an even bigger mind. Young Tom wasn't like other kids. He was endlessly curious, always asking why. His teachers got so frustrated they called him addled, a fancy word for confused or slow. After just 3 months of school, his furious mother pulled him out, declaring, "I'll teach him myself." And she did. Nancy Edison filled their basement with science books, and 10-year-old Tom devoured them all. Here's where things get wild. At age 12, Edison started working on trains, selling snacks and newspapers. But he didn't just work. He built a mini chemistry lab in the baggage car. One day, a chemical fire broke out. The conductor boxed his ears so hard it left him nearly deaf. Can you imagine? The man who brought light to the world spent most of his life struggling to hear it. But Edison turned his weakness into strength. He later said his deafness helped him concentrate. At 15, he became a telegraph operator, Those guys who sent Morse code messages. And here's a cool fact. He got so fast at sending messages, he created his own shorthand version of Morse code. That's like inventing texting before phones existed. Now let's talk about his first big invention. At 21, Edison created an electric vote recorder for politicians. But when no one bought it, he learned a crucial lesson. Never invent something nobody wants. From then on, he focused on inventions people needed, like the stock ticker, which made him his first fortune. But Edison wasn't just about money. In 1876, he built something revolutionary. The world's first industrial research lab in Menlo Park, New Jersey. People called it the Invention Factory. This wasn't just a workshop. It was a creativity powerhouse where teams worked day and night. Edison's motto, "There's a better way, find it." The lab's first big hit? The phonograph in 1877. When Edison first recorded his voice singing, "Mary Had a Little Lamb," people thought it was magic. Newspapers called him the Wizard of Menlo Park. But Edison wasn't satisfied. He immediately turned to his next project, the incandescent light bulb. For 14 months straight, Edison and his team tested over 6,000 materials for the filament, the tiny wire inside the bulb that glows, bamboo, platinum, even human hair. Finally, in 1879, they found the perfect material, carbonized cotton thread. When that first bulb glowed for 13.5 hours straight, history was made. But here's the thing. Edison knew the bulb was useless without a whole electrical system. So he built power stations, wiring, switches, everything needed to light up cities. In 1882, he flipped the switch at Pearl Street Station in New York, lighting 400 lamps. The electrical age had begun. Edison's personal life was just as colorful. He married twice and had 6 kids. His first wife, Mary, died young, leaving him devastated. He proposed to his second wife, Mina, using Morse code. At home, he was playful. He'd surprise guests by suddenly standing on his head to get the blood flowing to his brain. Even in his 80s, Edison kept inventing. His last patent? A method for making rubber from goldenrod plants. He died in 1931, the same year his light bulb's patent expired. In a beautiful tribute, cities across America dimmed their lights for 1 minute. The man who defeated darkness was gone, but his light would shine forever. Part 3. Tesla's background. Picture this. A fierce lightning storm rages over a small village in Croatia on a July night in 1856. As thunder shakes the house, a midwife nervously declares the storm a bad omen. But the baby's mother smiles and says, "No, this child will be a child of light." And she was right. That baby was Nikola Tesla, a man who would literally harness lightning. Young Nikola was different from other kids. He saw flashes of light in his mind that showed him detailed inventions before he built them. Imagine closing your eyes and seeing a fully built machine rotating in your head. This incredible ability would shape his entire life. But as a child, these visions terrified him. He couldn't tell if they were real or imaginary. Tesla's father was a priest who wanted Nikola to follow in his footsteps. But the boy was obsessed with science. After nearly dying from cholera at 17, he made a deal with his father. "Let me study engineering, and I promise to get better." It worked. He recovered and enrolled at the Austrian Polytechnic School. Here's where things get interesting. Tesla became addicted to studying, working from 3 a.m. until 11 p.m. every day. His professors wrote alarmed letters to his father saying, "Your son is killing himself through overwork." But Tesla couldn't stop. He saw solutions to engineering problems that no one else could see. That is, until he had a nervous breakdown and dropped out. In 1882, while walking in a park in Budapest, Tesla suddenly saw the solution to a huge electrical problem. With a stick, he drew diagrams in the dirt showing how alternating current, AC, could work. This moment changed everything. Unlike Edison's direct current, DC, Tesla's AC could travel long distances without losing power. The electrical revolution had found its champion. 2 years later, the 28-year-old Tesla sailed to America with just 4 cents in his pocket, some poems he'd written, and designs for a flying machine. His first job? Working for Thomas Edison himself. Edison promised Tesla $50,000, about $1.5 million today, if he could improve Edison's DC motors. Tesla succeeded, but Edison just laughed and said, "You don't understand American humor." Tesla quit immediately. Now alone in New York, Tesla dug ditches to survive. But his big break came when investors backed his AC motor designs. Soon, his AC system was lighting up the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. The White City that amazed the world. When Tesla demonstrated safe electricity by letting bolts pass through his body to light lamps, crowds went wild. Tesla's laboratory transformed into a mesmerizing wonderland of groundbreaking inventions that seemed to leap straight from the pages of science fiction. Among his most spectacular creations was the awe-inspiring Tesla coil, those dramatic lightning-generating machines that crackle with electricity in countless movies and science demonstrations. He revolutionized lighting by developing the first neon signs, bringing vibrant glowing colors to city streets around the world. Those dazzling displays in Times Square and along busy boulevards all trace their origins back to Tesla's brilliant mind. In an astonishing feat of innovation, Tesla stunned the world in 1898 by demonstrating the first ever remote-controlled boat, a magical-seeming invention that allowed him to steer a small vessel wirelessly across a pond, astonishing spectators who thought he must be using invisible strings or magic. Perhaps most remarkably, Tesla conducted pioneering experiments with wireless electricity transmission, envisioning and building systems that predicted our modern Wi-Fi technology more than a century before it became commonplace in every home and pocket. Each of these inventions showcased Tesla's unparalleled ability to turn his visionary ideas into tangible, world-changing technologies that continue to influence our lives today. But Tesla had strange habits. He claimed to only need 2 hours of sleep per night. He calculated the cubic volume of his food before eating. He developed a powerful aversion to round objects and couldn't touch hair. And he fell in love with a special white pigeon that visited his window daily, saying he loved that bird as a man loves a woman. Despite his genius, Tesla struggled financially. Investor J.P. Morgan withdrew funding when Tesla focused on wireless power instead of profitable inventions. His dream project, the Wardenclyffe Tower meant to provide free wireless energy worldwide, was abandoned in 1906. Tesla spent his final years living in a New York hotel, feeding pigeons and filing fewer patents. He died alone in 1943 at age 86. Ironically, the hotel maid found his body next to a working Tesla coil. His lifelong fascination with electricity literally beside him till the end. The U.S. government quickly seized his papers, fearing his inventions might help enemies during World War II. Part 4. Approaches to Invention. Let's dive into the first major difference between these two geniuses: how they actually invented things. Their approaches were as different as night and day, or should I say, as different as DC and AC current. Thomas Edison was the ultimate practical problem solver. He worked like a detective following clues, testing, failing, and trying again. His famous quote says it all: "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." For Edison, inventing was like cooking. You had to try different ingredients until the recipe worked. When developing the light bulb, he tested over 6,000 materials for the filament. Can you imagine testing 6,000 different things? That's the definition of persistence. His lab notebooks show thousands of failed attempts, but Edison saw each failure as valuable information. This method became known as the Edisonian approach, basically trying every possible solution until something works. Edison also believed in teamwork. His Menlo Park lab was like an invention factory with dozens of workers. He would give them problems to solve and reward the best solutions. This was revolutionary at the time. Nobody had ever organized invention like a business before. Edison focused on inventions that had immediate commercial value. He once said, Anything that won't sell, I don't want to invent. This practical mindset made him wealthy, but sometimes limited his vision. Now let's look at Nikola Tesla's completely different approach. Tesla was like a human computer. He could visualize entire inventions in perfect detail in his mind. He didn't need to build prototypes or do lots of tests because he could mentally run his inventions to see if they would work. Tesla claimed he could even take apart and reassemble machines in his imagination. When designing his revolutionary AC motor, he saw the complete design appear before him in a flash of inspiration while walking in a park. No sketches, no models, just pure mental engineering. Tesla worked best alone, usually from midnight until dawn. Unlike Edison's trial-and-error method, Tesla would wait for sudden moments of inspiration. He said his best ideas came in flashes of light, those same visions he had as a child. This made his process much faster when inspiration struck, but sometimes left him stuck for long periods. Tesla focused on the future rather than immediate profits. Many of his inventions, like wireless power, were decades ahead of their time. He dreamed of providing free energy to the whole world, a vision that ultimately cost him financial backing. Here's a perfect example of their different styles. When Edison hired Tesla to improve his DC motors, Edison offered $50,000 for the solution, about $1.5 million today. Tesla worked tirelessly for months and delivered a brilliant redesign. When he asked for the money, Edison laughed and said, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." For Edison, this was just business. He got what he wanted without paying. But for Tesla, it was a betrayal of trust. This moment destroyed their relationship and set the stage for their famous rivalry. The light bulb versus AC power perfectly shows their contrasting approaches. Edison's light bulb was a simple, practical improvement on existing ideas. He didn't invent the first light bulb, but he made the first practical one. Tesla's AC system was a complete rethinking of electricity itself, a radical new way to generate and distribute power. Edison improved what existed. Tesla imagined what could be. Their work habits were opposites, too. Edison was famously messy, with papers and parts scattered everywhere. Tesla was obsessively neat. He would calculate the cubic volume of his food before eating and demanded exactly 18 napkins at each meal. Edison slept just 4 hours a night, but took frequent naps. Tesla claimed to only need 2 hours of sleep, but sometimes worked 84 hours straight. Even their workspaces reflected their personalities. Edison's lab was noisy and crowded, full of workers and equipment. Tesla's lab was quiet and orderly, with everything in its place. Edison invented through organized chaos. Tesla through precise calculation. But here's the surprising thing. Both approaches worked brilliantly in their own way. Edison's practical persistence gave us the phonograph, practical light bulbs, and motion pictures. Tesla's visionary thinking gave us AC power, radio technology, and the foundations of wireless communication. The world needed both kinds of minds to enter the electrical age. Part 5. The War of Currents. When business turns brutal. Now we come to one of the most dramatic chapters in scientific history. The infamous War of Currents. This wasn't just a polite debate between gentlemen scientists. Oh no, this was a bare-knuckle business brawl where Edison and Tesla pulled every dirty trick imaginable to destroy each other. Let me take you back to 1888, when electricity was the hottest new technology, and two competing systems were fighting to power America. Edison had already installed his direct current DC systems in several cities, but DC had a huge problem. It couldn't travel more than about a mile before losing power. That meant building expensive power stations every few blocks. Meanwhile, Tesla's alternating current, AC, could travel hundreds of miles with minimal power loss. The advantages were obvious, and industrialist George Westinghouse saw gold in Tesla's system, buying his patents for $60,000 plus royalties. This is when Edison, the famous inventor, turned into Edison, the ruthless businessman. He launched what we'd today call a smear campaign against AC power. His goal? To convince the public that Tesla's system was deadly dangerous. And how did he do this? With demonstrations that would make your skin crawl. Edison's most shocking stunt? In 1888, he publicly electrocuted animals, including a poor circus elephant named Topsy, using AC power to prove how dangerous it was. He even helped develop the first electric chair using AC to further associate it with death. Newspapers ran terrifying headlines about the deadly AC current. Edison's team secretly paid schoolboys to bring him stray dogs for these horrific demonstrations. Can you imagine? The man who gave us light bulbs was literally killing animals to protect his business. But Tesla and Westinghouse didn't back down. At the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, the Super Bowl of its day, they won the contract to light the entire event with AC power. When Tesla's system brilliantly illuminated the White City without a single problem, it was a massive public relations victory. Then came the real game changer, winning the contract to harness Niagara Falls for AC power generation. As Tesla stood watching the first power flow from Niagara to Buffalo in 1896, the writing was on the wall. AC had won the war. Here's the tragic irony. Edison's own company eventually switched to AC, merging with another company to become General Electric. The very technology Edison tried to destroy became the foundation of his company's future success. Meanwhile, Tesla made a shocking sacrifice. He let Westinghouse out of their royalty agreement to save the company from financial ruin, giving up what would have been billions in today's money. The aftermath? Edison became rich and famous, while Tesla struggled financially despite his brilliance. But history proved Tesla right. Today, 99% of the world runs on his AC system. Even your phone charger converts AC to DC. The final compromise between these two competing visions. Part 6. Lasting Impact. How two rivals electrified our world. Let's fast forward to today and ask the million-dollar question. Who really won the battle between Edison and Tesla? The surprising answer is, we all did. These two rivals left behind innovations that transformed every aspect of modern life in ways they could never have imagined. Let's explore how their competing visions shaped the world we live in today. First, consider the simple act of flipping a light switch. When you do this, you're using a combination of both men's genius. The electricity comes from Tesla's AC system, flowing through power lines exactly as he envisioned. But the light bulb itself is Edison's creation. Even the switch mechanism was patented by Edison. This perfect marriage of their technologies powers our homes, schools, and hospitals 24 hours a day. Now think bigger, much bigger. Tesla's AC system made possible our entire electrical grid, allowing power plants to send electricity across entire continents. Without this, we wouldn't have massive server farms running the internet, electric trains connecting cities, or factories producing everything from cars to smartphones. Tesla essentially built the circulatory system of the modern world. Meanwhile, Edison's work on power stations and distribution systems created the model for how we deliver that power to individual buildings. The entertainment industry owes debts to both men. Edison's motion picture camera, the kinetograph, and viewing device, the kinetoscope, laid the foundation for Hollywood. But Tesla's work with radio waves and wireless transmission made possible the television, radio, and ultimately Wi-Fi that deliver that entertainment to our devices today. When you stream a movie, you're using technologies that trace back to both inventors. Transportation tells another fascinating story. Edison spent years trying to perfect an electric car battery, while Tesla envisioned wireless power that could charge vehicles as they moved. Today, we see both dreams coming true. Electric vehicles filling our roads, while wireless charging technology emerges for buses and personal devices. Even space exploration relies on their legacies. NASA uses solar panels, building on Edison's photoelectric research, and radio communications from Tesla's work for its missions. Medicine showcases their competing approaches beautifully. Edison's practical mindset led to the fluoroscope, early X-ray machine, and medical battery technologies. Tesla's more theoretical work on high-frequency currents eventually led to technologies like MRI machines and even some cancer treatments. Modern hospitals literally depend on both men's contributions to save lives daily. The business world still feels their influence, too. Edison's invention factory model became the blueprint for modern research and development departments. Companies like Apple and Google use this same team-based approach to innovation. Meanwhile, Tesla's lone genius archetype inspired generations of visionary entrepreneurs, like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, who named his electric car company after Tesla for this reason. Our homes contain dozens of their inventions we take for granted. The humble wall outlet, Tesla's AC system, the light bulbs, Edison. Your microwave oven? It uses technology derived from Tesla's work with radio waves. The phonograph evolved into your Spotify account, while Tesla's robotics work paved the way for smart home devices. Even your doorbell can trace its roots to Tesla's early electrical experiments. Environmentally, their competing visions still shape debates. Edison championed centralized power systems, while Tesla dreamed of free, decentralized energy. Today, we see this tension in discussions about solar panels versus traditional power plants. Tesla's vision of clean, renewable energy looks more prescient every year as we combat climate change. Education was transformed to Edison's hands-on experimental approach inspired modern STEM education methods. Meanwhile, Tesla's ability to visualize complex systems in his mind has become a model for teaching spatial reasoning and creative thinking. Schools worldwide use both approaches to train the next generation of innovators. Perhaps most surprisingly, their rivalry created the modern patent system as we know it. The fierce legal battles over their inventions led to stronger intellectual property laws that still protect inventors today. The smartphone patent wars between Apple and Samsung? Those courtroom dramas began with Edison and Tesla's epic clashes over electrical patents. Part 7. English Learning Focus, Turning History into Language Mastery. Let's take everything we've learned about these two brilliant minds and use it to power up your English skills. The story of Edison and Tesla isn't just about science and rivalry. It's packed with powerful language patterns that you can start using today. First, let's look at how we describe people's characteristics and abilities. When we talk about Edison, we use words like practical, determined, and business-minded. These adjectives help paint a picture of who he was. For example, we might say, Edison was a practical inventor who focused on creating things people could use every day. On the other hand, Tesla was visionary, creative, and ahead of his time. So we could say, Tesla was a visionary scientist who imagined technologies far in the future. Notice how these descriptive words help us understand their different personalities and approaches. Now let's examine some powerful verbs that come up again and again in their stories. Words like invent, discover, experiment, and patent are essential when talking about innovation. But we also see action verbs like compete, struggle, and succeed when discussing their rivalry. For instance, Edison and Tesla competed fiercely to prove whose electrical system was better. These verbs add energy and movement to our sentences when we talk about challenges and achievements. One of the most useful grammar patterns in their story is the past tense for completed actions. We use this constantly when talking about history. Edison established his laboratory in Menlo Park, or Tesla demonstrated AC power at the World's Fair. But we also use the past continuous to set the scene. While Edison was promoting DC power, Tesla was developing his AC system. These tenses help us tell stories about events that happened in a specific time and place. The comparison language we've been using is another valuable tool. Phrases like, on the other hand, in contrast, and while help us show differences. For example, Edison believed in direct current, while Tesla championed alternating current. We can also use comparatives. Tesla's approach was more theoretical than Edison's practical methods. These structures are incredibly useful when you need to discuss different options or viewpoints in English. Their story also gives us great examples of cause and effect language. Words like because, as a result, and therefore help explain why things happened. Consider this. Because Tesla's AC system could transmit power over long distances, it became the standard for electrical grids. Or, Edison worked tirelessly on inventions. As a result, he accumulated over 1,000 patents. These connectors make your English sound more sophisticated and logical. Let's not forget about the specialized vocabulary we've encountered. Technical terms like alternating current, direct current, filament, and transformer might seem challenging at first, but they follow the same grammar rules as other nouns. The key is to use them in context. The filament inside Edison's light bulb was made of carbonized bamboo. Even if you're not an engineer, understanding how to use these terms can be valuable in many professional settings. The quotes from both inventors provide excellent examples of memorable English phrases. Edison's famous saying, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration," teaches us about percentages and abstract nouns. Tesla's declaration, "The present is theirs. The future for which I worked is mine," shows beautiful use of possessive pronouns and future tense. Try adapting these structures to your own life. Success is 20% talent and 80% hard work, for example. Their story also demonstrates how to talk about successes and failures, something we all need to do in life. Notice how we can say, Edison experienced many failures before succeeding, using the verb experience to sound more professional than just had. Or we might say, Tesla faced financial difficulties despite his brilliant ideas, using despite to show contrast. These are sophisticated ways to discuss challenges in English. Finally, the debate about who was more important gives us perfect practice for expressing opinions. Phrases like, "in my view," "I strongly believe," and "the evidence suggests" let us present our thoughts clearly. For instance, "in my opinion, both men made crucial contributions to modern technology." This is exactly the kind of language you need for English discussions, essays, or even job interviews. Now I want you to try something. Choose either Edison or Tesla and describe their achievements using at least 3 of the language patterns we've discussed today. For example, Tesla was an extraordinary inventor who developed alternating current because he wanted to improve power transmission. While Edison focused on practical inventions, Tesla imagined futuristic technologies that we still use today. See how many different structures you can include in your description. Remember, the key to mastering English is to learn these patterns and then make them your own. The story of Edison and Tesla gives us a treasure trove of language to work with, from describing personalities and achievements to discussing competition and innovation. Try using some of these phrases and structures in your next English conversation, and you'll sound more fluent and natural. As we wrap up our language lesson, think about this. Just as Edison and Tesla approached problems differently, we all have unique ways of learning languages. Some of us, like Edison, learn best through constant practice and repetition. Others, like Tesla, thrive on big ideas and creative connections. What matters is finding what works for you and persisting until you succeed. Let's revisit some key words we've used. Persistence, not giving up. Innovation, new ideas. Transmission, sending something from one place to another. Achievement, something you succeed in doing. And contribution, something you add to a field. Try using each one in a sentence about your own life this week. Here's a question to think about. If you could interview either Edison or Tesla today, what 3 questions would you ask them? And why? This lets you practice both question forms and explanation language in English. In our final section, we'll bring everything together: the science, the rivalry, and the language, to answer the big question: who really won the Battle of Currents, and what can we learn from their story today? The currents of history. Who really won? After this incredible journey through the lives, battles, and legacies of Edison and Tesla, we're left with one final question. Who truly won the War of Currents? The answer is more surprising than you might think. In the short term, Edison appeared victorious. He died wealthy and celebrated, his name synonymous with invention itself. Tesla, by contrast, spent his final years in obscurity, feeding pigeons in a New York hotel room. But history has a way of balancing the scales. Today, 99% of the world runs on Tesla's AC power system, while Edison's DC survives mostly in batteries and small electronics. The very devices you're using right now, from your phone to your lights, represent a compromise between their competing visions, yet reducing their story to a simple winner and loser misses the deeper truth. The world needed both men. Edison gave us the practical tools to harness electricity safely and profitably. Tesla gifted humanity with visionary leaps that defined the future. One built the foundation, the other sketched the blueprint for what could be. Their rivalry also teaches us profound lessons beyond science. It shows how competition drives progress, how different thinking styles complement each other, and how even the fiercest opponents can push each other to greatness. Most importantly, it reminds us that history doesn't crown single victors. It remembers those who light the way for others. As we close this chapter, consider this. Every time you flip a switch, charge a device, or marvel at wireless technology, you're touching the legacy of both Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. Their currents still flow through our world, brighter than ever. Now it's your turn. In the comments, tell us, which inventor inspires you more? The practical problem solver Edison or the visionary dreamer Tesla? Why? And don't forget to like, subscribe to Learn English with Stories 365, and hit that notification bell for more stories that bring English and history to life.